Thanks for joining me, Scott Ryan. These are strange times in which we live. Some peculiar things going on with this new pope, and it just I don't know. It just seems like it coincides with the narrative that we're living in the end times. We're going toward the globalism, and you look at the prophecies, how it's supposed to be. Of course, during that time of the Antichrist, that there would be a one world government, one world currency, and one world religion. And of course, we're in the age of globalism. We're seeing world leaders collude and plot to destroy the currencies of each of these nations, the fiat currencies. And they'll, of course, want to replace that with one currency. And if there's going to be a religion, right now it looks like it's going to be Islam, especially coincides with the prophecies about how those who do not take his mark and accept his system will be beheaded. And that's perfectly consistent with what goes on in the Middle East today. I mean, you're a homosexual or whatever, you are given the death penalty. Or if you're a Christian, or if you're a Jew, not to correlate those three, of course. But the point being, beheadings are the norm in the Middle East. But I tend to think that if there's going to be a world religion, it would be more likely, unless it's one of domination, because socialism, Marxism does coincide with Islam in the sense that they are systems that require tyranny, and they don't conflict with one another. They're harmonious. One is concerned with the spiritual, and one is concerned with tyranny from a political standpoint. So they could work together. But it also seems like, aside from the potential of it being Islam, that it could be sort of a new age. You look at the Christian church these days, a lot of these churches are willing to accept anything, becoming more and more tolerant. Many denominations, even the evangelical church, Protestant church, which had escaped the religious system back in the 70s during a period of revival, is becoming like the system that it escaped. It's becoming more and more about the money, and it's being watered down daily so as not to offend anyone, so as to continue the building of palatial churches and all kinds of prodigal spending and things that will be left to deterioration and destruction and plunder in the end times. But the so-called Christian denominations and churches becoming so watered down that nothing is sin. You don't hear about sin. You don't hear about turning from your wicked ways. Everything's about positive thinking, having your best life now, and church growth at the expense of the church actually standing for anything and being of any value, eternal value. But the Catholic Church is what actually inspired me, more specifically the Pope Benedict, the new Pope, and his weighing in on capitalism and blasting capitalism lately. I mean, you understand where they're coming from. When people, I mean, Marxism at face value, communism at face value, sounds noble. When you talk about the objectives, the fantasies that those who sell it age after age, it sounds noble. Everybody's going to share, and everybody's going to love, and we're going to live in peace and harmony, and we're all going to be equal, not equal in value, but equal in what we have, except for those tyrants and the party members who impose the tyranny on everyone else. Of course, it's do as I say, not as I do. But when it's very dangerous when you hear this Pope, somebody who is ignorant of economic matters, clearly, espousing and propagating such views that lead to evil and tyranny. Of course, greed is bad. I never agreed with the Gordon Gekko notion of greed is good. Greed is not what makes capitalism great. Capitalism is an economic corollary to freedom. That's all it is. It's the economic part of freedom. It is freedom. That's what capitalism is. And those ignorant would-be slaves who speak against quote-unquote capitalism, giving it a fancy name for freedom. Those who bash it don't understand that just as our founding fathers, like John Adams, said that this form of government is made for only a moral and religious people and that it's wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Our founders warned that, and the reason is because it's all about freedom. But self-government can only work when people can govern themselves and govern their passions and not exploit other people. And the reason why it worked in America, but it didn't work in the French Revolution, and in France and other countries that went through numerous revolutions despite changing governments at the same time as we, it's because ours was built upon the Judeo-Christian beliefs and ethic in the Bible, and a society that governs itself by those standards can live in freedom. But once you take that away, you see people exploiting, and they say, screw you. If I didn't screw you over, somebody else would. Survival of the fittest. You were destined to lose all your money, so I might as well take advantage of it because you would have lost it. Somebody else would have taken it if I didn't. It's all falling apart. Capitalism is good when the people are good and the people believe and hold themselves to the standards of Jesus Christ. Freedom doesn't work in an atheist society. That's not to say that atheists can't be good people and can't be free, but when you have a society that abandons God, this is what happens. And it's the same with the economic aspect. Greed is not good. I don't agree with Gordon Gekko. I don't agree with Ayn Rand in that respect. But the bigger problem is, what's even worse, when you acknowledge that, one thing I will say is the worst form of capitalism is better than the alternative, because there is nothing more evil, nothing that has ever killed more people than the coercive socialists and communists who believe that they are supreme and we are the scaffold, and they have the right to rule and determine what we can be and what we can have. They believe that they are superior to us. They don't believe in that God that created us all equal in value, not equal in stuff. They are by far worse than anything as an alternative. And that's what the Pope doesn't understand. And that's where we're in dangerous ground. That's where we're heading to tyranny. Because when ignorant people like the Pope speak out and actually unwittingly advocate communism and tyranny, as he is doing, that gains critical mass, because there are a lot of followers of the Catholic religion and followers around the world who will think that it sounds good and make that age-old mistake decade after decade, century after century, that people have been making, and fall for the specious lies. And it is pure evil. It sounds good, but it is pure evil. And that master is Satan. Now I'm just waiting for the Pope to come out and come out of the closet or something. I mean, these are such bizarre times. It's, nothing would surprise me. I mean, things that you just don't expect. They happen quickly. Thank you for joining me. I'm Scott Rye.